In continuation of my general discussion on crystal and LC filters, from the LC filter perspective, we manufacture our own inductors, wire-wound inductors. We control the material properties in such a way that the consistency of production lots is very high. So like crystal filters, our LC filter products tend to go into very high reliability applications. Unlike crystal filters, LC filters deals with a lot of power. 1 watt, 10 watts, 25 watts, 50 watts, 200 watts. So therefore the package configurations for LC filters can get much larger than crystal filter packages, just due to the power and making sure that the power dissipation in such a product is acceptable in terms of getting the heat out of the LC filter package. So we tend to deal with a lot more complex packaging in LC filters. Because it's the high power aspect of filters, the main applications for multi-watt filters, LC filters, is in the transmit section of the radio. Just before you're ready to transmit your carrier frequency out to the world at so many watts, the signals go through the LC filter network. And again, you're talking tens of watts before they get sent out of the antenna assembly in a transmitter. So that is the big difference between crystal and LC filters. There are also our factory, and again, we don't have this published right now, but in general, case-by-case basis, the globe, in the world, they're experiencing a high growth in an application called software-defined radio. What that is basically is the ability to digitally adjust the frequencies, all those fundamental frequencies of the radio, either to a VHF band, a UHF band, a narrow portion of each. The ability to adjust the RF section of the radio to be adaptable to multiple frequency bands is software-defined radio. So our crystal and LC filter factory has the capability to provide what I call tunable crystal and LC filters. These tunable crystal and LC filters, for example, can work across the 30 megahertz up to 512 megahertz frequency band that is traditionally associated with various military radio bands. One package can't necessarily do 30 megahertz to 512 megahertz, but one package can do, say, 30 megahertz to 90 megahertz, or 100 megahertz to 225 megahertz. Again, we have the ability to provide value-added, tunable, frequency-tunable modules in LC technology or crystal filter technology. Some people refer to these applications as hopping frequency applications. The important thing to realize, though, with these modules is that each radio customer is very sensitive to their operating architecture. They're very sensitive to how much of that detail gets to competitors. So if you have an opportunity with a customer who talks about tunable crystal or LC filters, it's going to take a while to build trust with them to share their radio architecture with the filter manufacturer. Simply because how we switch from one filter section to another is going to be dependent upon the radio architecture that they want to use. The switching speeds between the different filter sections, all of that comes into play. So our factory can then give you multiple filter subsections. The control circuitry that switches from one section to the next is usually on the underside of the board. There are existing standard packaging in the world that are used by us and a couple of our competitors. 42 pin type SMD packages. Now, the thing you have to be careful with, again, is that each customer has a whole different configuration on packaging and the different amount of subsections that they may need. If they need a very small package, they might only need a couple subsections of frequency bands. If they have a larger package, they might need the filter module to cover a wider band of frequencies. Because this is the case, we do not offer a generic data sheet. Let me repeat, we do not offer a generic data sheet for filter modules, but we want our sales network to be sensitive to hearing about frequency tunable crystal filter modules or networks, software-defined radio. When you hear those types of terminology, realize that there's a growing number of customers throughout the world. We are currently involved, we are currently involved with a couple of these military radio customers in Europe and are a long way down the road to reaching a final production status with them. So we certainly have the ability to 100% support such value-added products. And of course, these type of modules are very, very highly profitable as compared to the individual components. So I would urge everyone in the Dynamic Engineer Sales Network to read up on software-defined radio, tunable RF filters, just in general, so that if you do come across the buzzwords in the industry, you are ready to engage in discussion and try to collect some design information. Thank you very much.